What am I saying again?
This is MPW,
MPW.
the podcast
with your host,
Xylo Aria. Cool.
A podcast about music production
for the everyday musician,
where we learn from experienced studio engineers and each other.
Jacob Attwooll is a London-based writer-producer and multi-instrumentalist with work featuring on multiple #1 albums. Key collaborations have seen him work with the likes of Dua Lipa, Ray, Lost Boy, Romans, Mnek, Linnea Sodal, and loads more. Most recently, he has been heavily involved in Emily Byrne's Island project. Welcome to the podcast, Jacob, and it's so lovely to have you. And I hear you've been having a relaxed day in London, I believe.
Oh, yeah, super relaxed. It's been great.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, good to get those in once in a while. And yes, I'm keen to get into learning from you a bit about being creative with limitations from a production perspective. But before we get into that, I would love to hear a little bit more about your career and where did things start in music for you and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, well, I started as an artist, I suppose, which seems like a pretty common story amongst most writers and producers. I think I started playing in bands in high school and writing songs, like making little EPs. And my dad had like a 8-track recorder that I'd steal. And yeah, just like have that on the bus and go to my friend's house and record drums in his garage and then like walk a few miles and go to someone else's house and record vocals in like their front room with this little like massive 8-track thing. So that was kind of my first kind of introduction to production and writing and experimenting with how does a compressor work and like what happens if you push this on an EQ and like how to not record vocals properly and stuff. So yeah, I started doing that in high school, and then I guess I was trying to be an artist in my own right, and I had like a CD of all my demos that one day I just decided to go to London, and I made a big list of kind of all of my favorite artists and all the people that manage them and like labels and publishers and stuff. And I just went to London one day and went around like 50 different people and gave them all my CD thinking like, I'm going to be famous. And then, yeah, I think I went to like 50 people and one person got back to me, this manager who was just really complimentary and kind of said he loved my songs and liked my songwriting ability. He wasn't sure about me as an artist, but he kind of said, had I ever thought about writing songs for other people? And I was like, what? That's a job? Like, I literally, people don't write their own songs? That's wild. Which I get, yeah, I guess is like what most people think like before they go into the industry. But yeah, so he kind of introduced me to that world. And I mean, long story short, he introduced me to a small publisher and I ended up signing a small publishing deal and then kind of just worked my way up from there. It's really like uninteresting. It was just like really basic, you know, did some sessions with up and coming people and developed relationships with them. And then a few of them went on to have a bit of success and they brought me along and then ended up in some bigger rooms and kind of just worked my way up the ladder. And here I am 10 years later.
Okay, well, I don't know, maybe it sounds uninteresting for you because it's your story, but I don't think that would be the case for everyone. It's just so interesting hearing how everyone's path is so different in getting to where they are. And even you going to give your CV and your music to 50 different people in London, and you were saying, you know, you thought you were going to be famous and it didn't really go down that route exactly maybe the way you imagined, but still a new avenue opened up for you through that, which is great and shows people that just really putting yourself out there in different ways can bring new opportunities to you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I sort of realized it's the songwriting and the studio production stuff that I enjoy more than performing and the sort of artist side of it. So I didn't even realize that I could do that until I kind of put myself out there. So yeah.
Cool. And with your production as well, like, are you self-taught or did you study in that field or how did that come about?
Yeah, I think basically self-taught. My dad's little like 8-track thing that I just experimented on and figured out kind of the basics. Although I didn't really know like the language, I just pressed some buttons and oh, that sounds cool. Sounds good when I use that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never really had, like I didn't go to uni or anything. There was actually a video series that a producer called Starsmith did. I think it was for like a music production magazine. He produced like the first Ellie Goulding album, and he went through a few of the songs on this video and talked about how he produced some of them and like went through the plugins and stuff. And I studied that for ages. I learnt loads from that. It was only like 2 hours long or something, but I feel like I learnt so much from just watching somebody like unpick stuff and just show you, you know, use that plugin and don't use that. And so yeah, I feel like it's been mostly on the job and like, yeah, YouTube.
Yeah. Incredible resource. And yeah, that's also interesting to see how different people get into production. And some people do come down the sort of tertiary route, but more and more it is possible to learn it yourself depending on what you're trying to do. So that's great to hear. And can you tell me a random fact about yourself that maybe not that many people in the industry know?
Yeah, I mean, this is completely unrelated to music, but I can't burp. I can't burp. I've burped maybe, well, not even maybe. I've burped 5 times in my life.
Okay.
And I know that because it's such a big event when it happens. It's like I can remember every time that I've done it. Like I have to have a celebration every time it happens.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so that's
particularly random fact. I love it.
It's pretty random, yeah. It's really annoying though. Like I don't know what it is. There's something that I feel like I can, because I've done so much research on YouTube of like how to do it, and there's like a Reddit group of non-burpers where they just, you know, all the non-burpers get together and talk about how it's really frustrating. But yeah, I feel like I know how to do it, but there's just like a little door or something that's stuck in my throat that just won't open.
I see. Okay, wow.
So instead of burping, I make like a little mooing sound instead. It's just like, and then nothing comes out.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So these are problems that I did not know people had. So
there's a few of us.
Maybe a little bit unfortunate, but maybe also a very polite group of people. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're all very polite.
Okay, great. And coming to a bit of time travel, is there an event in your life that if you could, you would change?
Yeah, I feel like if I could go back in time, I would convince myself to start making pop music earlier, because I feel like I avoided it for so long, just thinking like it just wasn't cool. And I was just trying to make super, you know, muso, clashy chords and I don't know, just like weirder stuff, because I thought that was the only way to be creative. And it wasn't until I was like, I don't know, in my 20s that I realized that, you know, you can be super creative and interesting within the pop genre. And I started really appreciating pop music. I just wish I'd done that earlier, because I feel like I'd probably be a billionaire now or something. Yeah, I just wish I'd appreciated it a bit earlier on.
Yeah. It's funny, actually. I remember having similar thoughts when I was a bit younger as well. And there's this, I don't know what caused that really, because like pop music is obviously the biggest genre of music and the most kind of well-known. But I don't know why I remember also having this kind of feel that it's not cool as a musician to make pop music.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Sometimes I think like, oh, maybe it just wasn't as good when I was growing up. But then I listen back and I'm like, yeah, but it really was. Like, like Britney Spears was amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So that's good. It's good to get into what you want to do earlier without maybe being a bit judgmental. So that's a good little lesson. So coming into our topic of being creative with limitations, can you talk me through a little bit about how you go about choosing your production tools that you're going to use for a particular track or project? And do you usually stick with tools or sounds or plugins that you usually know?
Yeah, I do. I feel like any tools that, and it sounds really lame, but any tools that make things quicker and more efficient, like I love all of that stuff. I think because I do a lot of producing in writing sessions, so I'm trying to get things sounding great really quickly so that there's, you know, a vibe in the room for people to write to. So yeah, so anything that like gets me there really quick. Like for example, I used to get a sidechain effect. I used to have to create like a kick track and then like put a kick on every beat and then mute that or bounce that out, you know, and then put that on a compressor. Like there was a whole bunch of steps, whereas now you can just open up, there's like plugins that you just open up and press one button and it does it. And there's like a bunch of presets. And it's the same with like getting something to sound lo-fi. I used to have to degrade the sample rate and use loads of saturation and stuff. And now you just like open up RC20 and you've got loads of really great sounding lo-fi presets. So yeah, anything that's like makes things sound good quickly. I love that stuff. And I'm always like looking for more of that stuff. I think I'm just basically on a continuous quest to make things sound great as quickly as possible.
I love that.
So yeah, and I do a lot of saving presets as well. So anytime I finish a production and there's something in it that I love, I'll save it as a preset just so I can refer back to it. And I've got like a big folder of presets and I save it with the song title instead of saying, because I used to do like really cool synth or like, you know, fat bass 7 or something. And it's like, what is that? Whereas now I have it as the song title and it'll be like chorus bass or something. So then when I see it, I immediately like I can think of the song and I'm like, oh yeah, that's that sound and that's that kind of vibe. And actually this song that I'm producing right now is similar to that. Oh, I'm going to use that bass. That's been really good. Like just saving presets, which means I do end up using the same sounds a lot. I find that easier because you just know how things sound and how like, you know, certain kicks work with basses, and it's just easier to just use stuff that you know when you're trying to make things quickly. So yeah, I'm always using the same stuff.
Cool. No, that's good. That's good. And I think there is some power in knowing that, because especially when you're starting out, sometimes you might feel like you need to have every plugin under the sun, and then you just end up with like hundreds of gigs of things, but then maybe don't know how to use any of them that well.
Oh yeah, totally. And I've got loads. I've got so many plugins, but I probably use like 5.
Yeah. Yeah. No, fair enough. Those were actually great little things to think about, like in improving efficiency, just with the sidechain and also the lo-fi. Was there any other kind of little tips there that have helped you get there quicker with your production?
Yeah, well, I mean, specifically with lo-fi stuff, that RC20 plugin is really good at just making things like that lo-fi or like kind of wobbly sound. There's another plugin called Sketch Cassette, which I use a lot, which is a similar thing. It's like a tape emulator. Yeah, there's a lot of lo-fi ones I use. Alter Boy, the Sound Toys Alter Boy plugin for kind of changing the form in a vocal or like pitching something really quickly. Like, yeah, those things like pitching vocals and like trying to do vocal chops and stuff. Like that used to take me ages. And now it's a lot easier with some of these plugins.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe one day it'll just be AI and we won't be doing anything, but
well, we'll see. Hopefully it's a while to go for that. Is there something specific or a few things that you might do if you are really stuck for ideas?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really obvious, but I always listen to music, listen to other songs if I'm stuck. Like I've got a playlist on Spotify that I just add if I ever hear something that I think is cool or like inspiring or whatever. I'll just add it to that playlist. So if I'm stuck, I can just go on that playlist of songs that I know will inspire me. That's such a big one for me. As soon as I listen to anything, I'm immediately like, oh yeah, I could do that.
Okay.
Something like that. I used to be really scared of doing that because I didn't want to copy anyone. I felt like everything had to come from my brain and, you know, I can't reference anything. Everything has to be completely unique, but I don't know. Yeah, I just find it really useful now, and it never ends up being the same anyway. Like even if you really try and reference something, it'll always end up being different. So
Yeah. No, that's a great one. And again, like you said, it might sound a bit basic, but yeah, I think often you might just kind of be sitting with your DAW and just trying more and more and more things and kind of getting frustrated that it's not really doing what you want it to. So maybe it is good to leave that and actually look outside of your project and what you're trying to do.
definitely, yeah, and just leaving, taking a break. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Because I find that I get, focused in on something really small. Like I lose perspective very quickly. I'm just like straight into the details. And I feel like I need
that
to
can
take
happen for sure.
regular.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I feel like I need to take regular breaks.
Yeah. So talking a bit more about pop music, as you mentioned, and I guess there are certain trends as pop music moves along. And is there anything that you do to stay up to date with the latest trends? Is that something that you're thinking about or not really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not amazing at doing that. I have to like remind myself to keep on top of it because I think it is important. But something I've been doing recently with that playlist of songs that I have, if I ever hear anything that like I haven't done before or I'm not 100% confident with, just like a style or like a sonic or something that I'm like, oh, that's really cool, I want to know how to do that, then I'll add it to this playlist and try and at some point like sit down by myself and just recreate that song or recreate that production in some way, just so I know how to do it or just so I have the sounds there, in case I ever have to do that. So yeah, I'll try and do that. If there's a new trend that I've never done, then I'll be like, okay, let me just let me just learn how to do this. And I might save the presets for the drum sounds or whatever. If someone wants to do that in a session, or I feel like I want to do that, then I can do it easily. But that is like a relatively new practice for me. Like I'm historically like pretty bad at just doing whatever I want to do. Yeah, but I do think it is important, especially if you're like a jobbing pop producer and you're in sessions all the time, then yeah, it is important to kind of stay on top of what's trendy. But there is a balance, I think, because you can end up following trends too much and then losing your own kind of flair and originality, which obviously you don't want to do. There's a balance, but yeah, that really helps me just deciding that, okay, I'm gonna try and produce this now.
Cool, nice. Yeah, and sometimes trying to recreate something that someone's done can just be a whole new kind of set of ideas for yourself and being creative as well. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And do you like setting limitations for yourself when you're being creative? And if so, what are some of these examples?
I do like giving myself time limitations, definitely. Well, not least because I've got a busy calendar and, I can't afford to spend like a week on a song anymore. But also just because I'm such a bad procrastinator that like I need to just set myself a time limit sometimes when, if it's just me and I'm finishing a song or producing a song, if I don't set a time limit, I'll just take all day, and it doesn't always need to take all day. Like sometimes it's something I could probably do in an hour, but I'll just like make it last all day because especially if I really like it, if I love the vibe, I'll just like listen to it over and over again and like jump around and not add anything, just not do anything. So yeah, I try and like set myself some time limits. I've got like two modes when I'm producing. The first mode is like clinical, very professional and vibeless, and just getting all of the main elements in the right places. And, like editing, putting the vocals in time and like doing all those like boring stuff. I'll like set a time limit with that. I'll be like, okay, from 10 till 12, I'm just going to like do this boring stuff and kind of get some dynamic in the track and make sure the chorus is hitting how it should, but just keep it very basic, and then have lunch or whatever. And then from 1 till 4, I'll just do like all the creative stuff and get really weird and just throw loads of random stuff at it. And then obviously like peel it all away and only keep like two things. But I like to sort of separate those two things. That I find that really kind of helps my brain if I'm like in a creative mode and I can do all the creative things and not worry about anything else. And then I'm in like mixing mode and trying to make it, sound coherent. But I feel like in terms of, like we've got so much access to plugins and like loads of samples and, soft synths, and there's just so much access to everything now that I feel like I'd probably end up limiting myself anyway by just sticking to my presets and sticking to my like 5 kicks and like 7 snares or whatever it is, because otherwise I think if there's too much choice for me anyway, like my brain kind of shuts down because I'm just like, I don't know, like it could be anything, like what's the right bass, I don't know. So yeah, I feel like maybe I like unintentionally limit myself in that sense because I tend to just stick to my little world.
No, a lot of good things to think about there. Like, and I think the time limitation is a good one to have in mind, because I think one of my mentors said that work you do will take up as long as you give it time to take up. So if we give ourselves a whole day, then we could stretch out anything to take that long. So definitely, that's a good thing to think about. And also, I think there is some research around that as well, like splitting your time between tasks that take a similar part of your brain. So like you were saying, the kind of professional boring stuff that just needs to get done and is a bit, maybe you need less thinking or something, like you're just aligning vocals or something like that, as opposed to creative stuff where you're just, again, using a different side of your brain and just allowing yourself to try different things. So That's a good little tip there as well.
Yeah, definitely. It really helps.
Yeah, cool. And I noticed as well with your production, I was having a listen to your playlist that you have as well of tracks that you've worked on, and something that kind of struck me as something that tied a few of the songs together was that the production seemed quite simple but really effective. And there was a lot of use of silences that I noticed as well, which was really great and I think is underrated sometimes. And as we were sort of saying before, when you start out, sometimes you feel like you need to add more and more ideas to make something interesting. Is there a way that you go about choosing the strongest ideas and not overcomplicating the song?
I think honestly that kind of came from I used to listen to mixes really loud, like way too loud. And I think when you do that, it feels like there isn't much room to add much because it's so loud and like overbearing. I think I used to, I'd have like a really dominant bass sound and like loud kicks, and it felt like there wasn't much room for anything else. So that sort of, I think, happened initially, like it just happened by accident that my productions were like quite simple because I felt like there wasn't any room for anything else. But I think that the more I did that for artists, and like I'd send the song to a label and they'd say, oh, this is great, we're going to put it out. And I'd be thinking like, oh, you sure? Like, is it finished? And like, does it not need any more? And they'd be like, yeah, this is great. So, and the more that happened, like the more that gave me the confidence to just do that and think, oh yeah, you don't always have to like fill the space, because the mix engineer can do that as well. Like if you just give them the right elements, like they'll make it sound big. Yeah, but I mean, I think also like a lot of my favorite productions are those ones that are just super simple and effective. That those are always the ones I gravitate towards, and I don't know why. I just feel like it's more of a skill maybe to do that and have a simple production and make it hit you in all the right places than just like throwing loads of stuff and making it really big, which I mean is also great. Like I love massive sounding productions, but I just love those simple ones. So I feel like maybe I'm always striving for the least amount of stuff, but as effective as possible.
Yeah. No, I'm all about minimalism in different parts of my life, but why not kind of bring that into music too?
Definitely.
So that's good. And hot tip of listening to everything loud and then it will sound full.
Yeah, just turn it up. Just turn it up.
No, that's good. And what would you say about like the tools that you need to have to create a really great sounding track? Like, do you think you need to have very expensive tools to create high quality music, or maybe is that not necessary?
No, yeah, I mean, I don't think, you don't need expensive tools these days. I think it's never been easier to make high quality music. I think all you need is a computer and a mic. If you're even doing vocals, you don't even need an interface now. I think you can get mics that just like plug straight into your computer. You can also get software that will make your monitors like emulate super expensive high end monitors, and like software that can like learn the flaws in your room and like tweak I don't know how it works, but it tweaks the EQ of your speakers or something and makes your room sound like it's acoustically treated and stuff. So there's so many crazy things that you can have now that don't cost that much money. So I don't think so. Like you definitely don't need a big fancy 90 channel desk and tons of outboard compressors and stuff. I think you can literally just get by with a computer and some headphones and a mic for sure.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's a good thing to know. And what would you say are the most common problems that you encounter when you are producing for other people?
I mean, we could do a whole episode on that. No, I'm joking.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the most frustrating parts of writing for other people is like creating a song that you love, and even more frustratingly, like that showcases your talent really well. So I don't know, just something that is like, oh yeah, I've really nailed that in the sort of style that I want people to know me for. I love the song. And then it just sits on a hard drive and never comes out because the artist doesn't love it, or the artist gets dropped, or there's a bunch of reasons why songs don't come out. Yeah, that's really frustrating. I feel like all of my favorite songs are just sat on a hard drive at the moment.
Oh no.
which sucks. But it is part of the job. Yeah, you just have to keep like campaigning for them and pitch them to other artists and hope that they come out one day. That's annoying. Also, like sometimes it's annoying when like only having a day with an artist can be frustrating for me because I don't know, I like to get to know an artist or a writer and kind of form a relationship and do a few days or do a week or something. But often you've just got like one day because they've just come over for a trip or, you know, they've just got a really busy schedule and you've just got to hope that you don't have a bad day and you get something good.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah, that can add like a lot of unwanted pressure. But then also it's, you know, it's like playing the lottery or something. And sometimes you just do get a great song and everything works out and kind of like that as well. It keeps it exciting.
No, that's good. That's good. And we can come back to the expanding on that on a separate episode. But we have a couple of audience questions for you, Jacob. So there's one from Jessica May Cruz. And Jessica asked, what are the similarities and differences of working between K-pop and Western music?
Oh, wow, that's a good...
Which potentially could also be another episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. That's a great question. Thanks, Jessica. I actually try not to think of them as different territories too often because I think I'm more creative when I don't. Because if I start thinking about what should I be doing specifically, you know, for K-pop or specifically for something else, then I think it just limits me. So I try and just like with all of my K-pop stuff, I've just like written a song that I liked and then it got pitched to somebody in Korea and they ended up using it. I've had a few where I've like written with somebody or a little bit more specifically, but often it's just I'll write a song and then pitch it to someone and hope that they take it. So I don't work any differently when I'm writing for K-pop. Just try and get a good song because there's so many amazing K-pop artists that span so many genres. So yeah, I wouldn't know where to start if I was gonna.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good to realize that you can kind of take the approach of not separating them too much and just see them as any artist, and you can pitch different things to that group as well. So also we have a question from Courtney Storm. So Courtney asked, what are you the most proud of creating in your productions? For example, vocals or processing or arrangement or mix?
I would say probably arranging. I guess, yeah, arranging is the most creative part for me. And I guess the part where I can add the most flair, you know, the most part of me. So yeah, when I nail that, I definitely am like proud. But I do love doing vocals as well. Like for some reason, I love editing vocals and just making them feel like a great rhythmic feature.
Nice.
So I love vocal production and processing as well. But yeah, I feel like arranging is when I'm feeling like I've nailed it.
That's good. All right. Well, we are now coming up to our speed quiz. Jacob, are you ready for that?
All right. Yeah. Let's see how fast I can think.
All right.
Okay.
So we have 5 would you rather questions. All right.
Okay,
here
great.
we go.
I love these.
Would you rather produce a song with terrible vocals but brilliant lyrics, or a song with amazing vocals but terrible lyrics?
Oh, amazing vocals, I think, because that's the thing people hear first.
Okay. All right. Would you rather not listen to music for a year or give up the internet for 2 years?
Oh, wow. That's tough. Wait, so can I, if I'm listening to music, but without the internet, how am I doing that?
You can listen to the streaming platforms.
Okay, cool. Maybe I'd do that. Yeah, I think it'd be difficult to give up music. So yeah, see you internet.
Okay, all right, cool. Would you rather have the best studio in a bad location or the worst studio in a good location?
Best studio in a bad location for sure. Okay. Definitely.
Would you rather be out of tune or half a beat behind?
Or half a beat behind. Maybe I can like style it out, make it seem like I meant to do it and it's kind of cool and lazy.
Nice. Would you rather be a talented songwriter who can't sing or a great singer who can't write songs?
A songwriter who can't sing, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, that's me.
All right, that was good. That was good. It was I would say about medium on the speed.
Yeah, medium quiz, for sure. It's late.
That's good. That's good. So just coming to our top tips section then, Jacob, can you give me your one top career tip?
I'd say don't worry about being different. I think people love to put you in a box and say, you sound like this, mixed with this or whatever. And I think it's good to have like a one-liner like that, but I think it's far more important to just cultivate your own style. And just like, if you have your own thing, then just lean into it and don't worry too much about sounding like everyone else. Like if it feels good to you, then just go with it.
Nice. Love it. That's good. And what is your one top self-care tip?
Don't listen too loud. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't do that anymore. And I don't have any headaches now. So definitely
always
don't
good.
listen too loud.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. Good one. And what is your one top general life tip?
Oh, well, similar to the career one, I think like don't worry about what other people think. Just, don't let other people's potential opinions stop you from doing anything. Well, unless you're murdering someone, don't do that, obviously. But yeah, generally just like nobody's thinking about you as much as you think they are. So just crack on, do your thing. Don't worry about anyone else because we all die eventually. So it doesn't matter.
Great. That's a great
ending.
End to the episode. Love it. Thanks, Jacob. I've really taken away a lot from this episode and it's been a pleasure to chat to you.
Ah, brilliant. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. My biggest 3 takeaways from Jacob's episode was firstly to set yourself some time limitations when you're being creative. And often we can get bogged down and something small can take us a whole day if we allow it to do so. My second biggest takeaway was to split your time between time to be creative and time to do operational general tasks. And this allows you to be more efficient with your time because you're not moving from one part of your brain to the other constantly. And my last takeaway was for you to make the music that you really want to make without worrying about if it's cool or what other people think, and just to be true to yourself. That's it from us this week. I hope you enjoyed the episode and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.